Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for our office hours this week. My name is George Soto, one of the co-founders here at AssetMule, joined by my awesome CEO and co-founder, Justin Dorfman. Justin, I think you have a middle name. I forgot. What is it?
Alexander.
Alexander, that's right. So I was going to
Yeah.
say, so I'll say Justin, drumroll, Alexander Dorfman. Today, first of all, for you folks out there who have not joined us in the past, we do these office hours every week, uh, with some exceptions, and we cover different topics. We're going to have some really awesome folks joining us in the subsequent weeks. So it won't just be Justin and I, but we're going to feature some experts covering some go-to-market topics. But today, we're going to dig into how to create a digital sales room using AssetMule. Now, not a new concept. I think that on the adoption curve, digital sales rooms have really started to take off in a meaningful way, and there's a lot of different reasons why, right? Like we constantly want to create better, more personalized buying experiences for prospects, but also as we move into this like further consumerization of the enterprise, which we've been talking about for 20 years. um, Now it's really happening because of a lot of different reasons, but I think like largely like remote work and the digitization, right, digital transformation of our work environments anyways, right? And I think this is even more important now, as AI is involved and you are going to have more like transactional, more generic experiences, that I think are going to be automated, like doing the manual human work alongside AI, which we'll see what, does the AI lead and we refine, or, whatever, we'll figure that out. But we are really excited about talking about this digital sales room using AssetMule today, largely, at least for me or from my perspective. I think that the ability to get one of these things done quickly in a lightweight manner is really important. Just as a former salesperson myself and having operated sales teams for such a long time, I know that that is a key kind of component, right? And that is getting something quickly done as a sales rep. If I got to spend too much time on it, uh, unless the prospect was like really hot, um, I might not do it, right? Admittedly, right? Because I got a million other things to do and I'm trying to constantly prioritize, what I spend my time doing. But in that world where we want to create personalized experiences for prospects, shouldn't every prospect get a great experience, right? And I think that's the world we're moving into. So for the folks out there, if you have any questions, comments, feedback, if you don't like my new haircut, I know I always joke about my haircut, but I got a haircut yesterday. My wife is very happy. Go ahead and put those comments, feedback, message, that sort of stuff in the comments area here on LinkedIn or YouTube. And we'll get to those. Well, we'll get to those certainly at the end. But if it is an urgent thing, just let us know, because you got to go and eat your sandwich at lunch or have your kombucha or smoothie. We'll get to it immediately for you. So without further ado, Justin, why don't you take it away?
Yeah. And just as you said, George, like digital sales rooms are definitely on the rise. It's funny. Yesterday, I was on LinkedIn and I saw a post. I forget who it was from, but it was, somebody talking to their top performing sales rep, asking them, what are you doing that's different, that's setting you apart from the rest of the sales team? And the one thing that that sales rep said was, I'm using a digital sales room as part of my sales process, right? So clearly these things are working, and it makes a lot of sense in our current environment where, I like to use these stats a lot, but 80% of the sales process now happens without sales in the room. So there's that remote nature of selling that exists now that maybe wasn't as present before. And there's more stakeholders as well involved in a B2B purchase, right? There's like 6 to 10 stakeholders now that need to be sold on the solution. So combine those two things, right? And digital sales rooms make a ton of sense, because the key here is to be able to enable your prospect, first of all, to transform your prospect into a champion, but then enable that champion with the information they need to bring everybody else along internally, right? And get to a yes. So that's kind of the idea of these digital sales rooms. But one piece of feedback that I've just heard a lot about some of the existing solutions on the market is they can be quite heavy to set up, maintain. A lot of them are quite expensive, and out of reach of, let's say, the earlier stage mid-market crowd, right? And in this day and age where I guess everybody, is being asked to do more with less, trying to make a case for yet another tool where it's going to take time, resources, and money to get to value and get adoption is a really tough task. So, and I guess the other thing that you have to think about is that you still need to build those assets that go into these digital sales rooms. So we thought this was a really interesting opportunity to allow for some digital sales room capabilities within AssetMule. Not that it's going to replace the all the bells and whistles that a dedicated digital sales room offers, but if it's something that you're looking to implement like initially, right, and you're already using AssetMule, or if you have needs to create sales assets and build out a digital sales room, having the ability to do that with an AssetMule, it makes a lot of sense. So what I'll walk you through today is a template that we have that, as George said, is super lightweight, incredibly fast to set up and start using. And then also ways that you could actually incorporate digital sales rooms into your into other assets, right? Again, one of the core functions of the digital sales room is to be able to aggregate relevant content over time. So if you've already sent like a interactive follow-up asset, instead of spinning up a separate digital sales room after that, you can use our Asset Hub component that I'll walk you guys through today to start curating additional resources and content in that one place, and build that over time as the sales process develops. So that's the idea for today. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to dive into so for those that aren't familiar with AssetMule, if this is your first time learning about AssetMule, essentially what we do is we enable product marketers, sales teams, sales enablement folks as well to build out a library of personalizable, interactive, and trackable sales assets. So this includes anything from one pagers to case studies to competitive pages, proposals. We heard today from a customer that they really love this for new feature one pagers. When they launch new features, being able to enable their sales and CS teams with very quickly and easily with a new one pager that sort of showcases that product with videos and interactive demos. So we have a bunch of templates in here that you can use to build out your sales asset library. And then we also have the ability to create your own custom templates, in the system. But today, as we talk about digital sales rooms, the one that I wanted to sort of highlight is this Asset Hub, where again, this is what I would call a lightweight digital sales room. Again, if your goal is to set up an environment where you can share information with your prospect after a great demo, and then continue to add information and assets to that environment throughout the sales process to enable them to sort of make a case internally and share that information across their team, this is a really, really great solution for that. And all you need to do to sort of start using it is to copy our template, as you'll see here, and then make it your own, right? And what you can do is quickly and easily set up your brand theme, where you bring in your brand colors and fonts. You can throw in your logo here and leave a space for all the prospects that your sales team is going to be sending this to. You can create different versions of this for each of your sales reps, right? With their image in here, or you can sort of like set up your snippet library, right? With images for each of your sales reps so that they could pull in their image very quickly, pull in their name very quickly, right? And then again, kind of walking through this, it sort of starts with this nice welcome message introducing them to the Asset Hub, this digital sales room. And then right to the point, being able to curate that content for your buyer. And again, right after the demo, you may have a couple of things in here ready to go. Your one pager, maybe a link to your demo recording, your Zoom recording, maybe a case study or two based on their industry or the use case that they mentioned on the call. And then over time, you can continue to add to this asset hub. And I'll show you again in a bit how you do that. But the way that it works at a very high level is just putting in a name. So all these things that you see here, FAQ, send your questions, all that stuff is just text that I put into the box here, and then a URL associated with it, right? And again, these can be AssetMule assets. For instance, I believe the case study or the one pager usually in ours are AssetMule assets, but they can also be links to other things. Anything that's web based, a page on your website, your pricing page, or a case study that's on your website, or things like that. And again, all you have to do is add the text that's going to go here, add the URL that's it's going to point to, and then you can choose, an icon to go along with it to make it look nice and professional. And then finally, at the bottom here, you can add your calendar, right? And again, we support a number of different calendars: Calendly, HubSpot, Chili Piper. If there are others that you use that you want us to support, you can just reach out to us. But that's really the template, right? And as I said, in a quick amount of minutes, you can create one of these for your sales team. And now when you do, in your own personal or team template library, you'll have that template for them to be able to create assets from. As you can see, I'm going to delete that copy one, but this is our AssetMule one that we have here, that if I want to send these after calls with prospects, I can go ahead and create an asset from it, throw in their logo, do that last mile personalization, and then have that environment that I can start curating and adding content throughout the sales process. So that's the Asset Hub template. But as I mentioned, the Asset Hub is also a component in our system, meaning that it can be added to any asset that you create or any template that you create in AssetMule. For instance, I commonly use this AssetMule follow-up template. So when I do a discovery call or when I do a demo, and I've been able to discover the core challenges and needs of a particular prospect, and maybe demo a couple of different solutions in our product that solve for those, I like to follow up with this follow-up asset where actually I'll go ahead and create an asset from it, as you'll see here, where just going top to bottom, I throw in the prospect's logo in here again to personalize it. And we can do this you can obviously upload logos, but what's really great is you can just throw in URLs here and we can discover logos for you that you can just pull in, personalizing it with their name, and then maybe doing a quick Loom recording, 30 seconds or so, that you can just drop in here, right, to personalize it. Just, putting a couple bullet points on those core priorities and challenges that we discovered during that call, and the key points of how we think we can help them, right? Bringing the solution to life with an interactive demo, in this case, a Nevadic demo, a couple of stats and some social proof in here, right? But then, as you'll see, I've included the Asset Hub component in here, where this becomes my digital sales room actually over time. And as the conversation progresses and there's more information I want to share with them, I just add it to the page that I share with them, right? And again, just with my calendar at the bottom here, so that they can always book a meeting with me one click away. So the way that I go about this is, again, after a call, I'll go ahead and create this asset, do the sort of little personalization steps here that take a couple of minutes. And then I usually like to preview it before sharing with the prospect, just making sure everything is looking good in here and ready to go. And then I like to share it as a link and an animated screenshot in an email here. Just grab that, jump over to my email, send my follow-up email, draft up my follow-up email, and then pop in the link with the animated screenshot, where now they can go in and they can check out the page and look at all that information that I've already put in here for them. They can watch the video, they can click through the interactive demo, they can go to that Asset Hub, check out our pricing page. Again, it can be any URL that you're pointing to here, in this case, a page from our website. And then, obviously they can book more time with me. But again, the great thing about these digital sales rooms and this Asset Hub is that they're dynamic, right? So let's say now, they've responded to my follow-up message and they said, really loving AssetMule. Thanks for sharing this information. I shared it around the team, and one of my team members asked the question, how is AssetMule different than HighSpot, right? So what I can do now is I can go back to the page, right, and edit it, go to the Asset Hub, and now I can answer that question over email maybe, but what I can also do is add another resource here to answer that question. So we've actually built an asset in AssetMule that is AssetMule versus HighSpot, right? So I can just add a new link here where it's, how AssetMule differs from HighSpot. I can choose a nice, relevant icon there. And then again, if it was a domain on our website, I could just put, or a URL on our website, I can just put that in. But what's great is if it's an asset within AssetMule, I can just start typing, let's say HighSpot, right? And I can see AssetMule versus HighSpot here. So I can just pull that in. And again, I can move it to wherever I want, or I can leave it at the bottom there since it's the most recent question that they asked. And then now I can save the asset. And the next time they visit that page, right? If they refresh, let's say this page, or they visit it again, when they go to that asset hub at the bottom there, they'll now see how AssetMule differs from HighSpot, right? They can click through to that page, and now they've got that information. And I've really enabled them, right, with answers to that question. They can see specifically like the key points of differentiation. They can see a side-by-side comparison. We even got a nice quote here on, a customer that actually left HighSpot for AssetMule. And again, I can just continue sort of building that trust and that credibility with them by providing the right information that they need at the right time throughout the sales process to get them closer to making a decision. And what's also great about all of this is that everything's trackable, right? So we'll get the email notifications as they view the page, but also within AssetMule, we'll see all the steps that somebody has taken on the page, right? They viewed the video, they clicked on the demo, they checked out the pricing page. Then I added the HighSpot, how AssetMule differs from HighSpot asset, right? And as a result of that, they clicked on that as well. And I can see that like this information that I'm providing them is resonating. It's getting engaged with. It's, from maybe different members of the team. I can see different locations. I can see different identifiers and get a sense of what's going on behind those closed doors, again, that we now have to deal with in this sort of remote selling world that we live in. So that's the quick walkthrough today on how you can very, very quickly, easily, and affordably start building out a digital sales room and enabling your sales team and buyers with digital sales rooms, not having to get another tool, but actually just, using this template in the system that you're already using for all your other sales assets, whether it's one-pagers, competitive pages, case studies, demo centers, as we sort of recently launched, but also digital sales rooms with the Asset Hub template. All right, going to pause here for questions.
Awesome. Well, for the folks out there, if you have any questions, comments, any other feedback, this is the time. I'm going to go ahead and drop in the Asset Hub template in the comments here so you can check it out and get started with it if it makes sense.
It's a very good initial use case for AssetMule as well. I've seen a lot of new users who sign up for our freemium plan, and obviously there's a lot of templates in there. So where do you start? One pager, case study, competitive page. Obviously it depends on your needs, but it's a really, really lightweight, very quick. As you can see, like you just put in your URL to bring in your brand colors, your theme, add your logo, swap in your image, your name, and then start populating your content into the asset. And literally in like 10 minutes, you have something that you can start sending to customers. Again, not to knock any of the dedicated digital sales room tools out there, because I think we're all on the same page in terms of like buyer enablement and the future of sales and what we're trying to do, right? But if it's something that you're looking to get set up very, very quickly and easily and affordably, this is a lighter weight solution that might be a good sort of initial stepping stone into the world of digital sales rooms.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that I love the most about it, right? It is that it is that stepping stone. Um, and the fact of the matter is that I don't know. I think that the category is still pretty new, and I think there's tremendous opportunities for all of us to continue to innovate and really nail the solution. Like one, digital sales room solution might be different than the other, and it might work better for a certain type of organization. So just something to keep in mind for folks out there who are really sort of thinking about testing this kind of stuff.
Yeah, another thing that I wanted to point out is that, to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of the digital sales room um, term, and deal room term even less so. I just think it's very seller centric, right? Digital sales room, deal room, right? I'm more. The reason why we used Asset Hub is it's sort of more focused on the content that you're sharing and all that stuff. But I also like Buyer Hub or something like that, right? Let's lean into who we're serving here, right? Which is the buyer. But what's interesting is that this goes beyond the sales process. This becomes a living, breathing place where all the information throughout that customer's journey, from initial lead to interested prospect to actual customer, through onboarding and quarterly business reviews and success, where you can continue to share content, right? And it's really great for the buyer to have one place where everything is, right? That's amazing, I think, for them, not having to sort of look through their email inbox, try and find that thing or that link to this or that, right? Everything's all in one place. But also for on the sales side and the CS side, think about the handoff from SDR to salesperson, and then the handoff from salesperson to CS person. Everything is continuous in terms of like the content and the information. And think about like a CS person or account manager or salesperson leaving an organization, and like a new person taking on that account and being able to kind of pick up where that person left off and have this environment that you know they know what was shared with them, and they have that context on that relationship. I think is a really maybe like under appreciated, maybe less talked about benefit of this digital sales room, right? It's like really this environment where it documents the entire relationship with the customer, right? CRMs do that as well, but I think this is a much more collaborative version of that. Um, that that documentation of relationship.
Yeah, it's a great point. I hadn't thought about that really. Uh, that's yeah. I mean, I think the other thing that comes to mind too is this idea that like if you think about the storefront, right? Like if you have a storefront in retail, for example, wouldn't you want like the ideal situation is that the storefront is created specifically for you, right? You walk up and all the clothes that are at the storefront, in the sort of window as you're walking up is like personalized to you, right? You think about ads, right? If an ad
Mm.
is not resonating with you, right? Like I mean, it's not going to resonate, period, right? Like if it's not personalized to you, I should say. And so, within the B2B world, we've seen consumer. We've talked about this a million times, but I think it's worth double clicking on again. We've seen like consumer purchasing get completely disrupted and revolutionized by e-commerce, right? And all the innovation there, right? Like I log into Amazon and it sends me all the stuff that I want. And as a result, I purchase a lot, right? From there. And it works and it's easy and I don't have to talk to anybody and I'm, going. I think, part of, at least for me as a purchaser within my demographic and my audience segment, one of the things that I really do not enjoy at all is going to the mall. I have to go and talk to somebody,
Mm.
walk in and
Mm.
all that. Like I I know my wife loves it and it's kind of like a different experience, but that's a purchasing experience for her. For me personally, I despise it, right? So for me, I would much rather just click 4 times and buy something on Amazon and it comes to me. And I think that these digital sales rooms and the future of purchasing within B2B is going to continue. It just makes sense to create our version of that personalized experience, and that's what you can do here. So, as opposed to the world where the sales person in the organization dictated the rules of engagement. We all know. I don't want to sound like another person on LinkedIn talking about the obvious and what we've been talking about for 20 years, but it's true. It's now more in effect than ever before. And so, you know, this idea of personalization in even at the website level, right? Like you're going to continue to see that with AI now. It's going to be amazing, right? Like like I think like now being able to create a personalized experience in the same way that the ad tech industry is done for ads, right? You're going to continue to see that, right, happen. And this is a layer, you know, into or a little deeper into that buyer's journey. So really, really exciting times. I mean, I just don't see how we go backwards, right? We can only go forward.
Yep. Yeah.
All right, awesome, folks. I think I'll get off my soapbox here and stop pontificating about the obvious. But I think we got about a couple minutes more here. So, folks, if you do want to ask any questions, jump on and talk here in real time, do let us know. Otherwise, I think we'll start to wrap up here shortly. But for the folks out there, what digital sales rooms are you using? Have you thought about it? Are you not using it because it just doesn't make sense for your sales process or your buyer's journey? Would love to absolutely hear your take on this topic. All right, Justin, I think we'll probably go ahead and wrap up for today. Shout out to the Miami Heat. Yes, I am a Heat fan, playing the Boston Celtics tonight. Shout out to everybody who's taking the time to listen to us today and hear us talk about our perspective on the future and the present and sales and go to market. If you are not an AssetMule user, go ahead and check it out. Like, it's completely free to kick the tires on it. You can go to assetmule.ai, sign up, no credit cards, get full access. If you're an existing customer, we really, 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 really appreciate that. Thank you for supporting us as an organization. We care a lot about what we do here. If you're not following us here on YouTube or LinkedIn, go ahead and click on the subscribe button and follow our content. We spend a lot of time on content and trying to create as much fun but educational content as possible. Follow us on LinkedIn. That's where we spend most of our time, YouTube and LinkedIn. We do have a Twitter, but it's kind of crickets. We share some stuff sometimes, but sorry, my former employee. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap up here. Justin, have a great day. Everyone, have a wonderful day and see you next week.